Welcome back to an all-new episode of Rich and Ben, the Sober Men, the podcast, episode 20. And today we've got a very, very special guest here on the podcast.
Bradley Walsh.
He's in already. With a career spanning over 50 years in show business. He's an actor, he's a singer, he's a comedian, he's a West End star and a pantomime legend. Throughout the 90s, he was Mr. Saturday Night, hosting his own self-titled TV show on ITV, which became Britain's most watched light entertainment programme of its time, creating iconic characters such as Dangerous Brian, Septic Peg and Nick Frisby. He's presented the Raw Variety performance on 8 separate occasions, and if he isn't already, he's fast approaching national treasure status. But above all of that, and what is also should be celebrated,
he was in EastEnders.
He was in EastEnders, but he's also celebrating 22 years alcohol-free. The list goes on and on. Brian's here to chat to us about all of this and more. Welcome to the podcast, Brian Conley. Here he is.
Can I just say, I love your podcast. I can't even say it. I listened to it and I contacted you. I really wanted to be on it. Because I just think you're doing an amazing job and everyone should listen to this and spread the word, everybody, because I think you two are amazing and it's informative, it's funny, because you got me on it. And,
this week is funny, yeah.
And it's just good for you, lads, because as we know, men are terrible at talking about their ailments and problems and what's going on, and I think that comes from way back. I told you, I'll waffle on. So my mum, she was talking about her dad.
Yes.
Way back. My mum's 86, and her dad, of course, was in the First World War way back as a young man. And it only dawned on her in the last couple of years what he went through when you look at documentaries and sort of stuff on YouTube about the Boer War and everything else. He was in the artillery, and he used to, it's a bit like Warhorse, he used to, be on the horse, have all the guns on the back.
Yeah.
And he never talked. She said he was only happy when I was a kid when he'd had a drink. The pub was very much the place where you would go, and it was, no one talked about it. You never talked about the war. You wouldn't ask him about it, what he'd done. She only knew a little bit. And then, of course, we went into it. She had no idea he was in the artillery. This is my mum. She had no idea what it was. And that's how people cope with it then. You don't mention it, don't talk about it, and we know that it's important to let it out and discuss these matters.
Yeah.
I had done a lot of therapy. We'll touch on that and everything else. But I appreciate how important it is to just let it out.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right.
Anyway, sorry about that.
Well,
I might as well go now. I've done my chat.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks for being on.
Yeah.
We struggled, Rich, didn't we? And it was Rich getting sober and seeing how well he was doing from afar. And I'd known for ages that, it was taken over my life and had something to do with it. And even though the tools were there to kind of get help, in this era, I was still too fucking embarrassed to approach anybody.
We're in denial.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. He said fuck.
Yeah.
Can we say fuck on this show? I'm not normally allowed to say fuck. I'm going to say it a lot.
Yeah.
Fucking fuck.
Don't tell my mum.
You're right, mate. Yeah, the tools are out there, but we're all in denial, and I'm all right, just social treatment, I'm not like, I don't have a bottle of vodka under my bed or hidden God knows where, I'm just drinking every night, but only with my wife and socially. But I had to get a buzz. There was no way I could sleep without getting a buzz. But I want to build up to that. I don't want to lead with that straight away. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, we'll journey back then. So
journey back.
Yeah, let's journey back. Let's start at the beginning. So you born in Paddington. And then Barbara Speak, stage school.
Yeah, went to stage school, lived in Kilburn, and we moved out to Wembley. My dad was a cab driver, but he was a cab driver for many years. But then in the middle of his life, he worked at the BBC, and he was a thing called a rigger supervisor, so he'd be in charge of an outside broadcast unit where they'd take all the lorries and everything to a football match, to dues with the Royals and, just everything. And so there was an understanding that this is what people do. So, for me, it was like, oh, maybe I could do a bit of telly then. My dad does it. And, of course, as I was saying, my brother is one of the #1 floor managers in the country. If you Google Alan Conley, You know, he does everything. And my sister even worked in telly, in costume, drama, helping in the big store departments at the BBC. So it became acceptable. Yeah. But we've jumped a bit, actually.
Yeah,
So I'm at stage school, but before stage school, I am really struggling because I am dyslexic and no one knew. In the 60s, you were just seen as thick, lazy, he's just, there's no hope for him, he's got a lack of attention span and things like that. But then the music teacher, and I'd always done talent competitions and I was always good at singing. That was my forte. My dad was a good opera singer, but I get the comedy from my mum. Anyway, so the singing was very much part of it for me as a young person because it was the only way I could excel. Better than anyone else in my school, I was a singer. So that was my little thing. So anyway, but the comedy I used as a defense because I'm dyslexic and I didn't know that. And all I was seeing was thick. I was put into the remedial class. And when we used to go, we'd go to the English class, and we'd all sit there and then they go, right, all the remedial kids now go to remedial class. And everyone, as we walk out, they'd all go, like that.
Yeah, that's got
So
to be
that
hard.
was it. That was always play. I now know that did beat me up, but it also, drove me. And then I'm doing a production of Yeoman of the Guard, and the music teacher, everyone said, don't have Brian, he won't be able to learn it, it'll be rubbish, so... and I'll do it, and it goes really well. And in the local paper, got a nice review. And then we go to parents' evening, my mum and dad, and they said, we don't know what to do with Brian. And the music teacher, Mrs. Gadd, said, no, it wasn't actually. Mrs. Griffiths, Mrs. Gadd was later. Anyway, Mrs. Griffiths said, well, you don't know what to do with him. Well, I'll tell you what, I want tickets for his first television series. And they went, well, he said, well, he's got something. And, he's a big fish in a small pond here. Take him to stage school. That's where he should go. He'll be surrounded by people that are in the want to be in the biz, and it won't seem so weird. And so I went there. I was still a big fish, though. Even when I was
I bet you were.
and yeah, that was the start of it, really.
Yeah.
I mean, there's lots of things. You know what I've done? I was a blue coat after that. Then I was in a comedy band, like your Russ Abbott and the Black Abbotts, like the Tumbleweeds. I was in a comedy band, so I'd done the Northeast, done all the clubs, and I'm now only 18, 19.
Yeah.
I mean, I should write a book. And then I went on my own, and then suddenly I'd done telly, and the telly wasn't very good. And so my management said, you should do warm-ups, so it'd be a warm-up. I went, but that's a step back. But they were clever. They said no. And then I used to do all Kenny Everett shows, a little bit of Wogan, a little bit of with someone else, Noel Edmonds. And then I'll go back and do telly. Now I'm doing some telly, but now I feel very confident in a television studio. Because in those days, you didn't know what it was like behind the camera.
Yeah.
Now you look at Britain's Got Talent, you're seeing cameras there. But there it was weird, and performing to a studio audience was weird because you want to play it to the crowd.
Yeah.
And my management go, that's where the money is, Bri. That's where the money is. Just look down the barrel. And it was really difficult. But after some time, I got used to that. And then one thing led to another, little steps, and then, then just telly,
And during that time, so coming out of stage school, starting work young, really. I mean, teens and then into blue coat. I wanted to ask you about it being a blue coat as well, because I would imagine it'd be a similar environment to us when we worked on the cruise ship. It's like everyone living, working, socializing together. Was that what was your relationship with alcohol at that time? Was it?
No, not really at all. I was just playing with it. I could quite easily get, and I remember being ill once and just having a pint of lager.
Right.
Because the guests.
We've all been there. Yeah.
The guests would always go, no, we've got to get you, and I go, no, I'm okay, I'll just have it. No, you've got to have a drink, and I can have a half a lot. No, you've got to have a pint. So anyway, the first time I had a pint, oh my God. And I hated it. It's all, when you sit there with your beer, you go, when those early days when you're a kid, you go, it's horrible.
Yeah.
But you're trying to be done the lad. Yeah. Whoa.
Yeah.
You know, but when I was a kid, did you get the Coca-Cola when you used to sit outside the pub
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
drink a bit and go,
Spit it
to
back
beat
in.
it back, and it looked like a Guinness.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, yeah, when you were 14, yeah, I want the
Yeah.
Guinness. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I remember sipping my Auntie Jane. She was a bit of a glamorous air hostess for BA back in the day, bless her. And yeah, she introduced me. Well, she didn't like on purpose, but I remember we were in her garden. She was sipping Pimm's on a deck chair. I crawled underneath and got right on it.
Yeah.
I felt fantastic. I felt like 13
You see,
or
I
14.
didn't. No, I used to feel,
Like it.
the room would be going round. I'd be sick. I'd be, you know.
Did you start on the? Because I didn't have my first beer till I was 25.
Really?
25 years old.
Bloody
But I
hell,
was
Rich.
drinking the sweet drinks, you know, like the Southern Comfort, the
Yeah.
Alco Pops. Hooch, I think, was quite big when I was growing up in the 90s and stuff. And I just thought, I didn't like you said, I didn't like the taste of beer.
No.
And it wasn't until I was on holiday in Ibiza, actually. And I remember my partner at the time had a beer. And I said, oh, it looks really nice because we were in the sunshine and really refreshing. And I said, but I don't like it. She went, why don't you have a bit with some lemonade in it? And I was like, oh, come on, I can't. I did half a lager with lemonade. And I was like, that's really nice. And eventually graduated. And so, like, I guess as you get older, your palate.
Without doubt.
It does. Yeah.
It was a lager top.
Yes, that's right.
lager
lager top. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I would have that.
Yeah.
But quite comfortably have one or, you know, two. It was only... That's an interesting question. I've never really thought about how it, but it does gradually go. And then I found that if I was doing cabaret or doing my act, I used to have a rum. Oh no, port. Because they also port good for the throat.
I love that. Medicinal port. That's what I used to call it. Medicinal port.
Well, you had an opening night, as you may be top of the bill, you buy everyone there a bottle of port as a gift for the opening night because everyone would do it and go and drink it, and that was the norm.
Yeah.
You know, so it was port, and then it sort of just went up from that.
In that era, because I've read stories and heard interviews and stuff about how in that era it was just commonplace. Some of the dressing rooms were actually turned into a bar or something.
I was there. My girlfriend at the time was with Les Dawson in Panto, and one of the dressing rooms was nominated as the bar, and it would have all the beers and everything, and have optics, you know, and all that. Door was open, anyone could go in, but you allocated every week or every couple of days your turn to stock the bar, and then that turn might come round again another once during the run, and then it would be there. Crew would be in there, would be in there, because that, I mean, the mindset was the only way you could get through 2 shows a day, or if you're on tour or something like that, you had to get a little buzz going. And when I was doing Panto, second half, second show, that's when I used to have my drink. I used to like Jim Beam and Coke.
Yeah.
I get one of them, and by the time I got to the kids and hello, what's your name? I'd be like, got a little buzz going, you know. I was sort of there,
but it was normalised. It was Was it normalised at that time?
Yeah, because it's always about it relaxed you, you know, and things like that, you know. And it would in its day, you know. And as I got older, it goes, but it helps me sleep, you know. Which is, and of course, when I went to a psychiatrist, I said, it helps me sleep. You know, he said, well, if you don't drink, you won't need as much sleep because you won't need as much sleep to recover.
Yeah.
You know, you go, oh, yeah, I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
And Brian, do you remember, was there a moment, do you feel, the progression of like those dressing room drinks, you know, before the second show on Panto or after a show with the crew? Was there a moment where it went from, you know, enjoying that little buzz, that little kick to get you on there to thinking, oh, like my performance feels a little bit off today as a result of that buzz maybe the night before?
I, in my head, thought it helped. You know? It was what was starting to really mess me up was my recovery. You know, and as I got older, because I was about 42 before I really went, right, I've got to stop this. But it was my recovery. You know, I just, oh, God, you know, that regret, trying to make myself ill. You know, like just before I go to bed, I got up, trying to get it out of me. And drink a load of water the next day. And then it started to affect the shows. And there's a lot more to this, but I'm doing the show called The Play What I Wrote. Which is a lovely show. All about
it Sean Foley, was it?
Sorry?
Sean Foley, did he
Yes,
direct it?
that's right.
Or was in it? One of them,
I think he might have been in it when I was there. And I would do some of the tour and often be asked to come in to just play me. I had to be me, and they would rip into me, you know, Sir Brian and all this, and I would have to do this, you know, awful
Love
play
it.
that Ernie had written. So, but that was great fun. But then I always remember when we were at Wimbledon, and I'd had the night before I'd really gone for it, and then when I got out there, I wasn't firing on all cylinders, and they were coming at me with ad libs, and I just couldn't recover.
Yeah.
And I remember going, well, and then again, oh, well, but I knew that, you know, I didn't do it comedically. I was struggling.
Yeah.
And it was that night that I come home and went, I've got to do this. I've got to sort it out. And I always think, the buck stops here, Brian. You've got 2 kids, you've got a wife. The buck stops here, mate. You have got to be there. You've got to get it together.
Yeah, providing you to be there to provide, and if things go wrong, there's massive problems.
Yeah, that was one of the driving forces.
Yeah.
Come on, Brian.
So you knew.
Yeah.
So you thought, I've got to get my act together. Did anyone ever say to you, do you think? Because I can imagine in that era,
Well,
it was
Anne-Marie, my wife,
right?
Because I had a driver as well, and of course, to justify a driver, whenever you go out, you got to get drunk.
Yeah,
I don't need, you know.
otherwise it's not worth it.
Well, it's not worth it. What's the point of having a driver if you don't get drunk every night? But no, I used to. It came to a point where whenever we went out, and the next day I wake up, Anne-Marie would go, "Why did you say that?" I go, "Well, you know, you said that to them." I didn't, did I? No, you did. Yeah, you said that, and you said that to them. Oh God, and I'd have to ring them up, and I'd have to apologise.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. And being sort of like with Anne-Marie and my driver, they're being put into bed, you know, like you know, like that, you know. But I was, you know, there were issues, and of course, it very much at this point now where it really got out of hand was when my dad died. My dad died. He had bowel cancer. He was sort of diagnosed within 3 months. He's now gone. And my dad, he was my rock. Being dyslexic, he would take care of all the money side of it. Being a cabbie, he would often drive me places, sort it all out. And in the last few years of his life, he actually just solely worked for me and doing a little bit of cabbing now and again. You know, so I was very close to him. I always thought my brother and my sister really sort of, they grieved, but they seemed to sort of eventually get over it. Where me, I was fine for a year, was absolutely fine, but drinking a lot. And then I had my first panic attack. And it was while I was doing a job. It was a TV film, and I was sitting in a Winnebago on my own, going through the lines, and then suddenly, what's that? So now I'm getting these panic attacks. Now I'm allergic to milk. That must be it. Well, I'm allergic to bread. Yeah, it must be it. But when I was having a drink, I was okay. It was all right in the evening. Yeah, this is all right. But of course, I'm self-medicating on the booze, you know. That's where it was at that time.
So you'd never had a panic attack up to that point? Never experienced anything like that before?
No, my throat, my chest started to go, and then it felt like my throat was like this. And what it was, and I now know, it was the pain of my father's death. But I thought I'd grieved. I thought, yeah, I cried a bit, you know, I'm moving on now. And it was a year down the line. That's why it confused me. Why am I having all these feelings? I need to go and get some help. So I go and get some help, and it was all right, but then I got some proper help. I managed to find a really good psychiatrist, and Dr. Morris Lipsage, I think that's his name. But I know he's retired now. He was like Obi-Wan Kenobi. He was really wise, old man. And I late found out that he actually used to look after Diana, Princess Diana.
Really?
Because, you know, they're
good
not allowed
hands,
to say anything. So I'd go there, and I always remember, I will do anything to feel better. I'm just not, you know, I can't cope. Because there was a time, and I really want everyone to know this, you know, I'm big and bold and loud and, you know, always look confident and everything else. There was a time after all these panic attacks and everything, and we're on grasping at straws and don't know what to do, but the alcohol's helping. There was a time where I could not pick my kids up from school because I knew all the other mums would be there.
Right.
and I'd have to make conversation with them. Which, I've never struggled with that. I mean, look at me now. I'm quite happy to waffle.
Yeah.
So I never struggled with that. But I'm like, what if I have another panic attack? And then when I'm working, I'm dropping a lot of Valium, like if I'm going to work, I get to about an hour before, I will battle through it. And then just before, and then actually when I was out there, I was okay, and then after,
just to level yourself
which,
out.
of course, as you well know, you can't self-medicate. It's like putting, fire out with petrol. It will absolutely. The next day you're just going to feel a million times worse. But for a few years, I would wake up with a full panic attack
In the morning.
Yeah, absolutely. I would wake. I would wake up and I'd open my eyes, and for this brief moment, I'd feel all right. I think, what? Wallop, panic attack. I got so used to it all the time. And to the point where I don't want to go out. But I had to work, to earn some money, But I used to do a lot of my own shows. I wouldn't do, I didn't want to act anymore, and I had to confide with my management that I'm really not in the right place. Because
were they supportive of that?
They were. They sort of, they understood. And where it was, I'm lucky, is I got an act. I could go out there. I could do a corporate. I could do my own act. And if I was on my own, and obviously I'd have a sound engineer with me, Gareth, who really understood what I was battling through, and a driver, I could get away with it, and I could sort of tick over. So anyway, I go to the good psychiatrist, because it takes a while to find someone that, and also I'm in a lucky place. I can afford a psychiatrist.
They're expensive, they are.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes it takes time to find the right one, psychiatrist, therapist.
Yeah.
You might go through a few to find what works for you. You need to build up that relationship of trust as well, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, I had, like when going through my dark days, two through the NHS, I think, and that was a help. It was a start for me, Brian, just to start to offload all the years of, just stuff in my head that I just couldn't get at. But then, likewise, as you said, Brian, found a third person who was I just kind of clicked with and gave me the confidence to open up even more.
Because he doesn't know you. He's got no axe to grind.
And it's that first moment, isn't it, Brian, of getting out of your head what's been in there for years. Just there was almost like a block on my vocal box.
Absolutely.
On my
I couldn't
chords,
even say the word dad
without going. Really?
And
it's like, had been for the year before that. As you didn't know what the problem was, right? So was that the same?
Yeah, because it was a year down the line for me, and then I started, and I honestly for some time thought I was allergic to one thing or another. Whenever I do this, that's where it happens. When I do that, maybe I've got, and then of course I made the big mistake of going online and trying to look,
trawling away,
trying to, this is what you need to do. And then I'm buying books on it, I'm reading it, and all it do is just. It keeps, I was obsessed with trying to get myself into some sort of place, in the right place. And then, of course, I go eventually to Morris, and I said, I would do anything to feel better. He said, you've got to give up the booze. And I went, I'm going on holiday to Antigua, and it's all inclusive. So when I come back, I've got to really focus on it. He said, the best thing ever. He said, well, will there always be a holiday? Will there always be a weekend? Will there always be a birthday party? And I went, now I know I'm paying you, and through his help, it was never a magic wand. It probably took 6 to 8 months of me playing with it, where I'd have 3 days. How have you done this week, Brian? The weekend or something like that, and this happened, that happened. But then it gradually got, I've done a week. Well done, Brian, I've done 9 days. And then suddenly I'm coming out this go, with some tablets as well. Obviously I had antidepressants as well. Part of it, was my, rehabilitation. But then I went, I've had 2 weeks now. Well done, Brian. Keep going. And then that's how it wasn't like, I'm going to give up booze now. It did take a while. It took months. So they eventually really get off it and then reap the benefits. And I always remember my driver, Jack, I was doing a gig and he was there And he went, Brian, that's the best I've ever seen you, man.
Oh.
You were so sharp. You were so on it, you know. And then gradually feeling better, I could open the doors again and go, well, yeah, I might do a little bit of acting, or maybe I'll do a musical. Yeah, I'm up for that. You know,
it's those moments, isn't it?
It's that feeling, isn't it? When you start to feel yourself again, like the true Ben Rich Brian, your confidence is back. And there are a couple of things, Brian, that really hit home with me, what you said there. Just that moment where you realised for your family and loved ones and for your wife that I've got to make a change here, and having the courage to do that. I just admire you so much, because that's like a massive step.
It is.
And then to get to that feeling subsequently of I'm feeling myself a bit. I'm doing all right here. I've made some big steps. You know, I'm getting some help, and this saying, you know, trying to get off the booze. It's like, it's really helping me. And like, were you proud of yourself at that stage? Like, you felt good about yourself.
You know, my Anne-Marie would say, he hasn't had a drink for 6 months. 7 months. Oh, yeah, a year. You know, and I'm very proud. You know, it's one of my greatest achievements is that I haven't drunk, and I don't. I see the point in getting drunk, but I don't see the point in just having one, you know. But I also know once you have one, you go, I'll have another one. And I don't want to tell people, you know, because people go, you don't drink? I go, no, I don't do it. How long? 20? What, like all week you don't drink? I go, no, I haven't had a drink for 22. I get very thirsty. But it became, and it's part of me, you know. Although I have to confess, and I haven't had a drink though, I'm talking about that 6 weeks ago, and I'm doing this wonderful show with Channel 5, and it's like a tribute, and it's over 2 hours, and it's Last of the Summer Wine. It's all in Holmfirth, so I can go in there, and I'm driving about in what's her name, Beryl Reid's old Triumph, which she used to have in the car. Weather's lovely. Anyway, we all go back to this hotel because I've done 6 days on it now, and some of the crew are drinking the non-alcoholic Guinness.
Well, yes, we've just please continue. We talked about this.
So I went, I have one of your special way of pouring it, you know, you've got to put the can. Do you know that?
With the can and stick it in.
Stick it in and let it go that way. And I said, I never liked Guinness when I was there. It was sort of like, and I'm really enjoying it. And of course, we're currently sort of doing the football, aren't we? And I sort of sit there, you can have Guinness, yes. I mean, I've probably had so far 10, but I sort of feel, you know, and if we do have to go to a pub, I'll go, well, that's going to be it now. But I can't tell you, there hardly any pubs do them, you know, 0 Guinness. So I've just started that. And then, of course, when I was in EastEnders, you have a beer in the Vic. Yeah. And you know, so I'd be having a beer, and that would be my character, Rocky's drinking a beer whenever he's in the Vic.
Non-alcoholic.
Of course.
Sorry,
And but people say, have you ever noticed how much salt is in a beer that's not out? And I went, yeah, it is. I feel thirsty. You know, I'd be driving around going, I feel really thirsty. And then I started drinking, it has. So my character that was then on supposedly whiskey and coke, right? You know, which is a bit of Coca-Cola. So, that made me think, but the Guinness, non-alcoholic. But I used to say to Maurice, well, I'm now having non-alcoholic. He said, why? Why don't you just have a lime and soda? Why don't you just have a Coke? Why do you have to pretend? So after 22 years, I've finally gone, go on then, I'll have this. So, and only because, doing this show and all the crew and everyone was having one, and they said, go on, try a little sip. Because, you know, the lovely thing about Guinness, it does look like, it looks so smooth.
It's healing, isn't it? She's a smooth girl, isn't she?
But you know, when I think, you don't want to play with that in those early days. I'm telling you, got to wait 22 years before you can have a non-alcoholic Guinness.
Well, of course, I guess when you stopped, there probably wasn't any option for non-alcoholic like beers, wines, Guinnesses and stuff. Because it's a conversation we've had on the podcast. Like, where do we land with it? Because I know, like for me, I have a sponsor. I went through the 12 steps to get sober. Great. But my sponsor said he likes to steer clear of all non-alcoholic drinks because he doesn't want that placebo effect. It's not, I don't find it a problem for me. I do enjoy, again, with the Guinness Zero, I think it's probably the best one on the market. I do have a little bit of blackcurrant in it though, and I know that's sacrilege in Ireland. They don't like that, but it's more. I find to go, if you're going out for a drink with someone, quote unquote, and they're having a normal beer or a whiskey or whatever, to sit there with an orange juice, it almost feels, I don't know, better to have the imitation of a beer to share. Or, because I prefer to, if I'm not going to the pub to do that, I'll go meet someone for a coffee. I prefer that. I don't really like sitting in the pub and having an orange juice or a bit, or a Coke Zero or something. I prefer, let's meet for a coffee or have a 0-0, because I like them. So what are your thoughts on 0-0s?
Well, I think you're absolutely right. You know, like you said about your friend and said, I don't want to create that placebo effect. And that's what kept me out of it for so many years. And yes, I feel as if I've sort of, it's not earned it, but you're right. At home, I bought a few, and when the football's on, I go, right, I'm going to drink this, you know. And so actually I am craving one currently. But it would be nothing worse than someone suddenly cut into this show and we're sitting here
with pints,
but we haven't told anyone.
We're just talking about Guinness.
I think you should give up.
It's funny, isn't it? Because like, I always thought of myself as being quite sociable and, you know, in the touring days and in the musical world. But actually, the more I drank when I was working away, the less sociable I became, and probably like so bloody dull. You know, hotel rooms. I remember, you know, when in the cricket world as well, spurning invites from sponsors for dinner because I was like, oh, I'll be all right. And my excuse was I'm going to have just a quiet night, where I'd go to the little supermarket by the Premier Inn, 4 dusty Carlings in my hotel room. So the fact that stopped, I've actually become more sociable, more confident again, my old self. And it's kind of led to kind of more opportunities work-wise as well. Did you find that, Brian? Did that open up a few more avenues?
More confident to take on board anything. There's no way I could have done EastEnders if I wasn't drinking, me personally. Because I think the thing with that, as you're very aware with your wife, you know, there's so much homework. You know, you don't switch off. You know, especially if you're heavily featured, and it's your turn to really stand there and. You know, sometimes you're spear carrier and sometimes you're leading man. You know, that's what they say, don't they?
But I'm Rich's spear carrier.
Yeah.
He's the main man.
But it was learning, you know, and I thought if I was coming home and my wife was sitting there, we'd have a meal and have a glass of wine. That would, I know, you know, of course, I'd go, I won't bother there. I won't look at the script. But having a clear head and knowing that when I look at this, it's going to be in there tomorrow. You know, worked for me because there's just no way. And in my game, as you're aware, and we're all in the same profession, you've got every wits about you, and you're constantly learning. You know, all the time you're learning songs. You know, of course, I've just done Back to the Future, and playing Doc was, oh my God, gallons of stuff, absolute dates and times and everything. You know, it was extremely full on, and I know there's no way I could have coped with that. You know, in those days, I wouldn't have even done the job. I wouldn't have done it.
No, you'd have been scared to take it, because I guess now it gives you it's probably the focus and the clarity that you don't realise is missing until you eradicate that, and it makes you more able to
continuity. You know, that's it. You know, if you're on the road, you know, that continuity, and it's lovely when you're out and about. You know, say you do go to a pub. You know, if you don't drink, you really are aware that after about an hour and a half, people are just talking bollocks. You know, what are you on about? Oh, I love you, man. I love you. I love you. And repeating themselves, and always you go, right, now, it's time for me to go home now. You know, all right, I'll see you tomorrow. And people do get upset that you don't drink. You know, they do. But that's their insecurities, you know?
How is it obviously when you go to events, and obviously you got to be on show, and there's going to be, you know, red carpets, all that kind of stuff, and then obviously every table's got bottles of wine. It's top up. Do you look forward to those events, or do you like, oh, do you know what?
Well,
I'm not looking forward to it.
Those events Dickie Bow does, we all sit down. I went to one recently where I didn't have to work. They are my bread and butter as well, you know, because those are corporate functions, you know, so I just feel it's like a busman's holiday, and I'll come in and do, you know, have the meal and that. It's very rare, you know. I mean, we've been to a few this year, and I'll do it, but I've been there and done it due to my age as well. And yes, alcohol does make people a little bit more interesting, you know, when you're chatting to them and that. But I'm quite good like that these days, and I think it's my age. I will just say it. But so what do you do then? How
Right.
can you further my career in any way?
Yeah.
You know? But I'm like that, you know.
Yeah.
But I think you know yourself a bit more, don't you?
Yes.
It's like
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to be myself. And
Mm.
again, it's that confidence has returned. And
Yeah.
it's almost like, I've done so much work on myself, and this new beautiful world of sobriety, it's like I know what I'm about
Mm.
in and out of work as well. And it's like I feel like I can agree with people, I can disagree with people. I'm not worried about any comeback, where we've chatted before, haven't we, Rich?
Mm.
Like for years, not wanting to get too involved in any like dilemma or
Yeah.
arguments, because I just didn't want any like negative like comeback.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yes.
people see it as a crutch. So if you
Yeah.
are getting grief or whatever, go and have a drink,
Yeah.
because it numbs it all for a brief time. But in the morning, it will only sort of make it worse,
It's true. And I see it a lot. I mean, just talking about EastEnders, I see it, I guess soaps, because they've been, the heartbeat of most soaps is the pub, isn't it? That's where people go. Every situation that the storyline is detailing, it's like, I'll tell you what, have one of these. It's one of these in the pub, the wine comes up. And it's like, it's interesting to me that in this sort of climate where a more healthy lifestyle is being promoted quite a lot, especially on social media and stuff, that I guess that is still the heartbeat of a lot of shows, is like, well, let's have a
the
drink. And I wonder over time whether that will start softening a little bit, and it'll be like, I'll tell you, so let's go and have a beer. So I'll tell you what, I'll have a 0.0, or I'll have a Diet Coke. I just wonder whether that will shift.
Well, you
What
hope,
do you think?
because programs like that do reflect, hopefully reflect what's going on, in the world. So yeah, you hope that. But I don't know if they will. I think that's I think it should be put to them and put to the writers. And I mean, obviously, yes, I think I had problems with alcohol because I was in EastEnders, and I'd only been there a couple of weeks, and they gave me a heart attack. So I had to have a heart attack. But I'm sure it's because I had grey hair.
Right.
I had 2 heart attacks within the first 6 months.
Yeah.
Then my storyline is all about trying to keep fit, and I weren't allowed to drink, and I'm having drinks on the quiet and things like that.
Yeah.
So, and quite ironic. And I had to act drunk. And I was really nervous.
You've been drunk for 20 odd years. Yeah.
I thought, I don't want to go over the top. How do I act drunk,
How was that?
Yeah, I got away with it, but I was nervous, and I hadn't had a drink. What should I do? I'm worried about it. And they go, how over the top is that? You know. So I did. It wasn't something that came naturally to me at that point in my life. I think when I went into therapy, I always remember a couple of things. One was obviously I was struggling, but when we go back, talk about your childhood and all that. And of course, I did have grief. I was dyslexic. So, but I saw that as an advantage because it made me what I am. I could diffuse things with comedy. And as I got older, I got better at reading and obviously learning. I've learned so much over the years, and I don't have issues with that. Just do not give me a script and expect me to read it straight away.
Right.
I can't do that.
That still make you panic? Would it make you panic?
It would make me panic. And then also, I read, I can't read ahead. I read words, but I can quickly, roughly know it, because I've looked to do that over the years. I look at it a few times. Okay, all right, I know where this is going now. So, So what was I saying? I can't believe
talking about going back into therapy.
Yeah, going into therapy. So I said, he said, why don't we take you back to your youth? So I'm there. And there is a specific word for it. I don't know what it is. So anyway, and just think of an incident that happened in your life, when you were a little kid, I suppose he said, like 5, 6, 7. So then I'm going back now. I'm going back to a specific moment when I'm in the classroom and everyone's reading out a paragraph of this book. And I know it's going to come round to me. It's going to come round to me, and I can't. Where is my paragraph? They're reading that. It must be down here because I've got the wrong paragraph. Oh no! Oh, it's my go, and I haven't read that bit. Oh, and then I stumble through it, and in my head, I feel as if I may be being a bit dramatic, that we either had a detention or she pulled me up and told me to stand up. And you haven't focused. Everyone else has been learning this, but you obviously haven't even looked at it. So it was a moment. So anyway, I am now close my eyes. And I want you to go back there, Brian. Take a few deep breaths. Go back, go back, go back. What can you see? Now I suddenly explain everything. Right, is this guy next to me? His name was Trevor, and then I'm about 3 rows back, and then she's there. She's got blonde hair. She's got funny, like Dame Edna glasses, very period 60s look.
Yeah.
Okay, the blackboard there. I have in 25 minutes, half an hour, now explained everything. I am now there. Taking his breaths, going back. He said, now, what I want you to do is just put your hands on that little, put your hands on that little boy's shoulders and just tell him that everything's all right. Well, I just went like, visualised me, put my hands on, and then I absolutely burst into tears.
Really?
Uncontrollably. I burst, I was crying. He said, now, what do you want to tell him? I just tell him, it's going to be all right, mate. Don't worry, this little lad. And he said, do you want to have a word with the teacher? So I went, yeah, I took the teacher outside. And then I'm in the corridor with the teacher. He said, don't hit her. You should just tell her what you feel. So I'm saying how it messed me up and how you shouldn't have done that. And I had dyslexia. I wasn't lazy. I had worked hard on it. And then I come back and then I come out of it again. How do you feel? I feel good. Yeah, I feel all right, He said, well, why did you take the teacher out of the room? I said, I didn't want to upset the other kids.
Oh.
That's how much I was in that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I'm doing telly now, and I'm having to read lots of autocue. I definitely read better. It was like as if I had addressed something.
Release, yeah.
This thing from way, way back, let out those tears, And that is the thing that with my dad, and what I learned when I was in therapy is to let out those emotions. Cry. What are you going to do? Cry. That's fine. Why do you think kids are so happy? Because they address this. If they whack themselves, they cry. If mum upsets them, they cry. As you get older, you sort of push it all down.
Yeah.
And when I went to therapy, he said, you're like a champagne bottle. And you've got that cork really tied in there and a load of gaffer tape wrapped around it, and you won't let it out. You've got to cry. You've got to think about it, Dad. You've got to talk about it, Dad, and you've got to let it out. So then as therapy goes on and I'm seeing a difference, I read in the paper about Elton John. And Elton John had been in therapy, and he was quoting when he went one time, he said to the therapist, he said, what am I shouting out? And the therapist said, to the world, when you were standing there, Madison Square Gardens, you're shouting out, do you love me now, Dad? Do you love me now?
Yeah.
This is what.
God.
So I said, I'd read this. And I said, what am I shouting out? And he said, you were shouting out. It really still gets me. He said, you're shouting out, I'm not thick. I'm not thick. Don't underestimate me. I'm not thick. And look, I get a shiver because and then I suddenly thought, yeah, that's it. I'm doing all this work, I'm learning all the time. I'm doing really complicated shows like playing the Music Man and learning songs like Trouble, which is so wordy. And a part of my act, I can see, like, even when my act open up with, I do feel that tonight's show falls between the ethereal quality demanded by the intellectuals, the cultural necessity of the urban lifestyle. Because it's a show on participant elimination of own assessment. And I know why I've learnt that.
Still in there.
No, but also I'm shouting out, I'm not thick.
Yeah.
I know big words.
Yeah.
Look at me. I can stand up here for an hour and 20. So in a way, yes, it pushed me and it drove me. And now I know why I'm doing it, because I want to shout out, I'm not thick.
Yeah.
And that was a real turning point, And I think the whole drinking thing, losing Dad, who was so much part of my life, losing him so quickly. I'm now 5 years older than when my dad passed. And the whole thing about everyone thinking I'm stupid, was a driving force. But then